In July of 2010, about a year and a half later, my husband came to me and told me that I was going to have to get a job. And my baby was just barely a year, and I do not do well in corporate America. I get fired a lot. I don't do what I'm told. Joel can probably attest to my mouth. I will just say what I'm thinking anytime I'm thinking it, and so there was a lot of blank spots on my resume, and I wasn't really looking forward to the idea of getting a job. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm already a consultant. Why can't I try to make money selling Scentsy? And my husband laughed at me heartily. Because remember, where do I live? Boise, Idaho. Scentsy land. On my street, when we moved in, 5 consultants living in my neighborhood. It is a family reunion going to Walmart. So he's like, well, you can give it a shot, but it's not going to work, and, you know, I'm not really going to put a lot of faith in it. You've got about 6 to 8 months. If you can't make any money, you got to go get a job. I said, all right, fine. Time frame, fair enough, good. So I relaunched my business in September of 2010 with a brand new catalog, and I just decided to go for the gusto and give it all I had. I made director 5 months later, in February of 2011, a super good month. And when I made director, I had a team of 30. 17 of those were my actual frontline. And those are people that I recruited. And I'm gonna do this because I'm not, okay. So, since then, I have grown my team to nearly 500. We are at like 497, something close to that right now. And I promoted to Superstar Director in October of last year. I love doing what I do, and a lot of people tell me that recruiting is the hardest thing about what we do. And I tend to disagree, but I want to talk to you why I think it is something that we should all be doing and none of us should be afraid of doing. So when I talk about recruiting and sponsoring, oh, I need to come here. When I talk about, I'm short, so I can't see over the podium. When I talk about recruiting and sponsoring, I always tell people there's some real basic core things that we need to talk about when we're recruiting. And those things that are being authentic, and this is a Scentsy core value, engaging in your potential recruits as well as your new recruits and supporting them. When we, oh wait, we went backwards. Joel told me not to do that. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is being authentic. And this, to me, is probably one of the most important things that we need to do as a consultant, as a leader, as a consultant. When you are yourself, and you can be yourself in this business, and that's one of the things I love about this business, is I can just do me. I don't have to, look, I'm wearing jeans. And I'm like, I don't have to do the whole dress up, you know, uniforms, scripts, any of that. I can just be me. I don't have to worry about, you know, following any sort of routine. One of the biggest things, and I'm a big social media person. I've built my business on social media. I totally am for it. I love using social media to help me grow my business. But one of the things I see a lot of people do is they will see something that, you know, Mary posted on Facebook and they thought it was super cool, so they copied it and pasted it word for word and put it as their status, or they, you know, put it on their Facebook pages. And then somebody else sees that, you know, Sarah put that on there, and they copy and paste it, and then they put it on theirs, and then somebody else does the same thing. And what ends up happening is, when you do that, eventually your post falls into this category of, you know, so-and-so posted XYZ, and 17 other people also posted it. Well, a couple of things that happen when you do that. Number one, it gets lost. Nobody sees it. Number two, it could have been the most amazing, life-changing status ever written on the planet, but it loses 100% of its value because it's the same thing that everybody else has said. So I've done it before, you know, we've all been guilty of it, but I like to tell people, when you see something online, something that, you know, anybody from the home office, any of the Scentsy leaders, anything that you've seen that you love and you want to post it, you want to use it to create, you know, to help promote yourself and your business, close out Facebook, open up a Word program, and write it from your brain. And let it be what you want it to say and how you remember it, because that'll give you your spin, and it'll make it more authentic to you. I want you guys to talk about you and talk about your stories. I don't want you guys talking about how other people were successful or how you know that this business is great because so-and-so is so successful. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, but Amy, I did exactly what you said when we met for coffee that day and you told me about all your great successes. I told so-and-so that I know that you can be successful because my sponsor's successful. Well, the person you're talking to doesn't care about me. They don't care about your sponsor. They don't care about anybody but you because you're the one that they're talking to. And what you're telling them when you're telling other people's stories is that you don't believe in yourself and you actually haven't experienced success yourself. So make sure that you are relating your successes, no matter how big or small they are, because we do have them. Make sure you're relating those successes to your potential recruits and your recruits, and not somebody else's. You can talk about other people's stories all you want. It's fantastic to tell other people's stories, but just make sure that you're telling your own as well. I like to tell a story about when I relaunched my business in September. I didn't know that the Disney trip had been started on August 1st. The incentive period was August 1st to January 31st. And when I relaunched my business, I was a month behind, and I was a certified consultant, and I said, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I'm late in the game, and, I'm just certified. We don't make those trips, right? Wrong. And so I totally didn't track it. I didn't look, I didn't see what the requirements were, I didn't see what the qualifications were, nothing. I tracked nothing. And in January of 2011, January 2011, Scentsy gave us all a 5,000 point bonus for Disney. Well, I decided at that point that I was going to calculate how close I was to Disney. And I was horrified to discover that I was 3,000 points short. So in that month, I busted my tail and did everything that I could to earn that trip, and I fell 1,000 points short. And I was so bummed. But it helped me to learn a lesson about always giving it your best no matter what you're doing, and never discounting what you have to offer and what you can do in this business. And it also gave me a relatable story that I can tell my consultants and my prospective consultants. When I told that story to my team back in August of this last year, I had several consultants say, oh my gosh, I felt exactly the same way. Thank you for telling that story, because now I'm going to give it a shot. And at the end of January, I had 14 people on my team qualify for the trip. So, and some of those girls that qualified were girls that would not have given it the shot if I hadn't told them that. So never be afraid, or always tell your stories, and don't be afraid to say things that you're thinking. Well, almost always. Okay. Keep pushing through. When we're engaging our consultants, a lot of people say, and I've had this conversation 100 times with people where they say, well, I just don't know who to recruit. Like, I don't know anybody that would really be interested in recruiting. And I always tell people, well, do you know somebody that loves dogs? Well, yeah, we all know those people that post 1,000 times on Facebook about, saving the dogs and, this dog needs adopted. And, we all know those people, right? Well, those people, generally speaking, love to donate their money. They also would probably love to donate money that they don't, somebody else's money. So those are really great people to contact as potential recruits, because you could use the fundraising method of Scentsy to engage their interest in recruiting. And there's a lot of other different kinds of people. So when I'm trying to engage potential recruits, I try to get to know them and say, what is it about them that is going to be important enough to them that they're going to want to do this? Whether that's, they're a single mom, or they want to stay home, because I can totally relate to that. If they like to fundraise for other organizations, if they need a tax shelter. There's so many different reasons why Scentsy works for so many different people. It's really important that we don't put people in molds. We make sure that we are talking to everyone and engaging everyone. And the big key here is to open your mouth. Like, you have to talk to people. We can't just sit in a closet and expect to be successful. We have to talk to people. And for some of us, like me, it's easy. I talk to walls. Some of us, it's a little bit harder, and so we have to get out of our comfort zones and do things that we don't ordinarily do. But the 20 seconds of insane courage that it takes to do it the first time is all it ever takes. And after you've done it 1 or 2 times, it's easy after that. I like this little picture that I have up here because it reminds me of what it takes to be a good listener. In order for us to be good leaders, in order for us to grow our teams and be great at what we do, we have to be a good listener. And this is something that I actually got from when my daughter was in kindergarten. They sent this home in a little thing, and so it was from her kindergarten class. But it works. I mean, it's great. It's actually very, very, very poignant when it comes to learning other people and figuring out how to engage. We have to be quiet, which is not easy for some of us, and we have to listen. I also have found that you have to be really careful about how you're engaging with other people and the way that you are trying to talk to them. I know that I've had a couple of times where I've met with a potential recruit and they would tell me their reasons for not being able to join, whether it's they don't have enough money, or they're intimidated by the kit, they're intimidated by starting a business, their husbands don't support them. There's a lot of different reasons why people object, and a lot of them are legitimate and a lot of them are excuses, and we all know that we've all probably encountered that at some point. What you have to do is try really hard to put yourself in their position, and that is the easiest way to overcome their objections, is to think about where they're coming from. So when I'm engaging my potential recruits, a lesson that I've learned is that there's been a few times where I've discussed with people joining, and one of the biggest objections that I've actually heard is my husband doesn't support me, or my spouse doesn't support it, so I don't think I can do it. And for me, it's very difficult to understand that, because I don't care what my husband thinks about anything, really. And so I just do whatever I want, and I'm going to get a shirt that says I do what I want, and that's what I'm going to wear. And so when people tell me that they are concerned about what their husbands think, or their husbands don't support them, I'm always like, why? Like, it does not compute. It makes no sense to me. And I discovered a pattern that I never recruited those people. Those people that I was always put off by their answer, never ever signed with me. They would sign with somebody else, or they would just not sign at all. And I was talking to about that particular problem that I was having with a friend of mine who said, well, maybe your response is a little cold, a little chilly. And I said, you know what, you're probably right. And so now, when I experience that objection, I always say to them, okay, I understand that, I get that. I don't have that same problem myself, but you know what, what if your husband talked to my husband? What if your husband talked to me? Would that make a difference? And just an understanding and giving an empathetic side to it, and attempting to, thank you, Joel. I told him I was going to be on time, and it never works out for me. Okay, just do your best to engage. There we go. So, the final thing, and I will be quick, is to support. I don't know how I went up like that, how I went on like that. Okay. Great. Now I'm lost. Thanks, Joel. Support. Okay, so when you're supporting your team members, it's really important that you understand that the first 70 days is the most important in your recruit's life. It is absolutely we just talked about that. First 15 days, shooting star. First 70 days, sensational start, levels 1, 2, and 3. Completely amazing. If you can get your recruits through the first 70 days, you'll have them for life. Support them like a family member, like family. Make sure that you are treating them like you would well, maybe treat them better, I don't know. But make sure you're supporting them and treating them like family. You have your family and you have your Scentsy family. And the more that you treat them like family and the more that you love them and the more you support them and want their success, the more successful you will be. I always try to give them very small goals, $150 to start, then $500 in 15 days. After 515 days, we want to get them certified. After certified, we're going to go for Sensational Start Level 1, and we move from there. So break it down into really small goals for your new recruits, and make sure that they are always feeling the support and the love that you have to give. Your team is not the only, and we've already heard this, your team isn't the only place you're going to get support. You can reach out and get support from anywhere. You don't have to, it doesn't have to stay within your team. I want you guys to go out and meet each other and grow a network and make friends, and this is your family. So go out there and get the support you need. If you have questions, ask. You're never going to get anywhere by being quiet, ever. That is an absolute truth. And that is pretty much what I have to say. So thank you very much. Sorry, John.